There are now a bunch of diseases that have no cures, that have no treatments. Whether you're talking about concussions or something different, maybe Alzheimer's, patients feel like they have no opportunities, they have no options. But what if they did? What if they knew that there was another option out there? And that's what some of these clinical trial site owners are doing. They're offering stem cell treatments for patients who are in clinical research, and they're looking at whether these treatments are allowed. Now, there has been some feedback from the courts, and this is still being played out as we speak. However, stem cell research companies are going forward as we speak. Let's listen to one of the conversations from one of these owners. And I'd love to hear your feedback if you think this is the right opportunity, the right option for some patients.
So we're here today at the site council meeting, and I got to meet Hakim right now. And it's really exciting because Hakim is the site owner of 6 different sites that have now been coalesced into 3, is it? Yes. And now is a really interesting time to talk because the Trump administration is changing everything. So what are the opportunities you're seeing as a site that you hadn't thought of before? Oh, the opportunity is like more studies that we are hoping, to why more studies? Well, I think, the pharma, it's been expanding through Europe. So, and more drugs are coming. And we are hoping to do more studies and more clinical research in the stem cell role. So you're thinking stem cells. Now, when you talk stem cells, are you talking like CAR T or are you talking hardcore stem cells? Hardcore stem cells, because we have labs to where we harvest the fats and we kind of basically extract, the cells. And stem cells. Yeah. And then we freeze them. So we're trying to do multiple clinical trials on what we can use these cells for, from orthopedic to cardiovascular. And believe it or not, we just did a study on concussion using stem cells. And then the results were phenomenal. Basically we took 20 mix between military, football players, soccer players, male and female, and we inject, through IV the cells, and we saw, some very important results. Now, were these investigator-initiated studies or? They were investigator-initiated cells. We actually funded those trials ourselves.
On one hand, you've got RFK Jr., who's a big fan of sort of deregulation. Now, the question, however, is that there have been, prior to the RFK administration, for lack of a better term, there was a lot of pushback towards stem cells. Texas saw a lot of that from the FDA and the like. And stem cells fall to this weird middle ground of potentially FDA regulated, but potentially just practice of medicine issues.
Well, actually, as a research, as long as it's a patient consents to it, it's still okay. But as a practice, so here is where the thin line or the fine line between, practice and research when it comes to stem cells. Stem cells, no regulation is forbidding treatment with stem cells as long as you harvest, you process, and you practice.
As long as minimally manipulated.
See, the word manipulation is the one that's we're going to focus on now. So once you take the cells and you freeze it and you go back to it, you have to, thaw it out. To thaw it out, you have to add enzyme. Now, what FDA is doing, once you manipulate the cells, now it falls into the drug, category, which is subject to 10 to 12 years of clinical trials before it comes to the world. So that's basically where the fight, if you would, for a better term, between stem cells and the drug companies and FDA. But we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to stem cell because the court had ruled to the favor of the stem cells to be treated as a treatment. But now it's in the appeal courts, and we're still waiting for that to finalize.
And I think that's good. That's what's going to keep happening, right? What you're talking about is 351 versus 361.
Exactly. That's what it is, yeah.
And with stem cells, it results in this unique positioning where you say, yes, we are doing clinical research. However, basically you're investigator-initiated where you're playing both sponsor and investigator, which comes with its own complexity. Now, how do you find physicians who want to do this?
Well, we are finding physicians because stem cells really passed a milestone by this consent form that came and was approved by FDA. It calls patient's right to try. Now, what are the requirements for patient right to try is for the patient to try other things and for the physician to prove that other things or other therapies are not working. Once they are not working now, the patient has the right to trial
needing to try something new. So if they sign that consent, which again, it lists the benefits and the risks and so forth, but at least that is one way of the patients having access to their own cells.
You're talking about patients who have no other options, basically.
Yes.
So you talk about concussions for example.
Yes.
I speak as a pharmacist. There aren't really that many options for concussions out there.
Well, we're doing the concussion one, and we're also doing an Alzheimer, and we're not trying to reverse, the Alzheimer with stem cells, but we basically delay the Alzheimer's from happening and so forth.
Be doing the research for the sake of research or as a form of commercialization.
Both, actually, but to go to the commercialization, you have to go through the research and show data. Right. So we are in the data collection phase.
What I'm really saying though is there are actual situations where other sites, I know for example in Texas, even where they use sites as a way to basically introduce the drug, give it to patients, primarily because they didn't want to go through that whole process. It charged the patient right then and there, and the result was that FDA was not a big fan of essentially working around the system. How do you combat that?
Well, we in California, we have to be very, very careful. So we are not doing that. We started our sites and we did a sub-site, we called it Extended Stem Cell. But we had to stop that just because when we find out that, FDA is not a big fan of that. So they cracked down on some sites in New York. And then we are friends with the sites. And then when we heard that they cracked down on this site in New York, we said, you know what, we might as well just basically close the shop, wait until the course, the law takes its course.
Yeah.
And then we can go and do our own thing, freely. But right now we are treating patients with their stem cells, but they have to be doing it the same day. So we just basically take the stem cells, take 5, they're avoiding the whole storage and the whole storage part. So it has to be done the same day. We process it, we'll process and apply it the same day.
How did you get introduced to this?
Because my partner is an orthopedic surgeon and my third partner is actually sports medicine doc. And then he happens to be that he was the Chargers doctor. Okay, so they tried to look for a quick and easy cure for the player to go back on the field. So that was one of the initiations that we took. And then we took that treatment outside of just sports and we did it in our clinic.
Very interesting. Could you tell people where they can reach it?
So they can reach me actually by phone 619-861-5314, or they can email me at mhakim@oscmsandiego.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much again.
Call, click, or email.